So welcome to MiniFridge. I'm Andrew Radick.
And I'm Kristen Plesko.
And so we have a new piece. We got general good responses and stuff on our previous one. We're obviously going to keep doing this. We have about 10 people that have sent things. Between 8 and 10 people, I would say, have sent things to us for this. So that's cool. So we have a number of things to choose.
I wish your screen was taller.
I recently got an ultra-wide screen.
For whatever reason.
Well, because it's an IPS monitor, and I can finally paint things that they look like how they paint.
You can get a 27-inch one.
That's good, but I needed an IPS monitor, and I really like the ultra-wide monitors for sort of putting stuff on one side and etc. So, yeah, I'm got like a Minority Report thing set up. So
the brightness is not bright enough.
It was too bright.
It's so dark right now. Your room is just so dark. Like I feel like I'm in like a cave.
Oh, it's because the sun just went away.
Well,
I went behind a cloud.
No, it's just there's not enough light coming from your monitor. Either that or I'm like actually blind.
So this one, the one we're doing today, is from.
Well, wait. Oh,
yeah.
Are we allowed to? Oh, crap.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe we should just say everyone who sends these things should just be aware we might say your name. So don't be like.
Yeah, I think that's.
Don't be that way. If you're. It was supposed to be a secret between you guys and me. And, of course, no. I mean, if you, are on the move and the CIA is after you and you send us something...
Yeah, don't send us anything. If you're on the move from the CIA, it's probably best not to send us anything.
It's probably best just to leave.
Because they're coming for you.
Yep. Go to Russia. And be friends with Edward Snowden.
There you go.
Don't be murdered by the CIA.
All good ideas.
Yep.
So, I guess we can say this one's from Dillon Cook. We're just gonna say his name.
Oh my god!
Ah!
So, Cook-san,
What'd you say?
Cook-san.
Cook-san. From...
Or Dillon Coon.
Dillon Coon. Yeah, I'm sure he really likes that. So, yeah, he sent us this image, and he left a note with it saying, "This is done for a Digital Foundation's Photoshop project in college. Feel free to rip it apart and give a real critique, as I'm really trying to get into digital painting, and I can't get a real critique to save my life from classes." Which, we've talked about that before, that...
Oh, sorry, no,
Kristen is just winking at me furiously.
I touched my eye, and now my, oh, I'm sorry, my contact lens... Oh my god. Keep going. Just keep talking.
Okay, so as we talked about in the past, that sometimes getting a critique from classes can be difficult, especially if you're, I guess with my classes, they always definitely stressed, but essentially that it can be difficult to get a decent critique, and a lot of times it's not, your professor sort of has to prompt that sort of thing on from sometimes, because a lot of the times either people will be sort of sensitive, or they don't want to give an actual critique because they think they're going to hurt the person's feelings, when in actuality it's a digital painting class and you're trying to learn. So, yeah, honestly, this one reminds me a lot of some of my younger stuff, and that's not to say that that's the stuff we make fun of all the time, but sort of is. But more so, we have this sort of monster taking down some guy having some sort of cosmic world fire.
Yeah, he sure is having a world fire.
Because I think it might be a top view of a bonfire, but right now it sort of looks like a self-contained sphere.
What, there's a little girl trapped inside of it or something. Or a little newt egg. I'm not sure what that is.
A fiery newt egg. Dang. I got contacts up in my skull.
Yeah, it was...
They just took my skull.
Contact went way up in my eye. By the way, eyes go pretty deep. Don't do that. Don't move your eye. Don't do anything with it. So, alright. Now back to fridge art. Or mini-fridge.
Now back from these messages. Yeah. So, as I was saying, that sometimes it can be difficult getting a critique in a digital painting class, because a lot of times people are afraid to hurt other people's feelings. And those people... I think especially if you're... when you're just starting out, or your first couple classes doing really critique heavy things, or stuff that goes into critiques, actual critiques, a lot of times it takes a while for those people to calibrate. and realize what's okay. And even then, you're still going to get people where they're like, I think everything is really good. I really like the way you drew this eye. It's like, yeah, those are the worst people. And
those are the people
they mean well, but they're also...
They're hurting
quote unquote mean well in the way that somebody, feeds a bunch of cats outside and is an outside hoarder. It's like, yeah, they mean well, but they're breeding a lot of cats and causing a giant problem.
They should murder all those cats.
Or get them neutered at least.
Yeah. In the neighborhood I'm moving to, that's what they do, is one person feeds them, but they also trap and spay them.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. No, that was actually the responsible thing to do.
Yeah, I had to deal with that crap in college more than a few times. Of just, well... Sorry, I'm gonna burp.
I think cats are the worst outside, but they eat things I like birds, and I get really upset when I see a dead bird, and I'm like, that was a
Kristen gets
cat.
Upset at the loss of life, which is understandable.
Yeah, even though I just said murder all cats.
Yeah, Kristen gets upset at certain types of life that she deems acceptable, like spiders, birds, not cats.
Cats don't belong outside. They're indoor animals like a dog.
I agree with you.
Dogs don't belong outside either. They get rabies and they're gross.
Truer words never spoken. So we have this digital painting that we're supposed to try and keep these a bit shorter so we can do a bunch of them. So this one, off the bat, I would say it's sort of the lack of varying colors.
Yeah, it's
that
really...
drives me nuts.
The color values are really boring.
Yes.
Like, it's very gray, but it's not like a good kind of gray. Like, where there's like... it's not. The gray doesn't have any meaning. Basically, you might have chosen gray because you don't know what to color a rock or something. But there are so many rocks that are so many different colors other than gray.
I think it's always worth saying that the bottom is essentially just a gradient as well. It's not really something that looks like it holds rocks. It looks like he's having some sort of like tribunal with his rock pals.
tiny Stonehenge.
that he gathered together. And they're all watching the Fire Child.
With, like,
glowing Fire
Pearl
Child.
Girl. I mean, really, zoom in on that. Like, what is that? Like, is it actually something in there, or is it just a motif that I... Like, it looks like, to me, like a tiny child. A tiny newt child.
Oh, man. I think it's just
it's actually just... From a distance, I thought it was a tiny girl. I thought it was like Dot Hack's sign, where it was just a tiny floating girl.
Like, maybe he's summoning like a fireball or something. Basically, like, it feels like the main part of this image is this conflict between this guy and this monster, but there doesn't feel like there's much story to it, I guess.
Yeah, the story isn't clear.
Right, like in an ideal world, I could imagine this in like a sort of cave. So you sort of want to see the cave he's going into. Maybe he's going to sort of trap himself in this cave, in a different perspective. In a different perspective.
Oh, okay.
Just saying, like, if we were to take this concept and then how would we work this concept? It's like, I would show like a guy like trying to escape, doing like a fireball, if that's what he's doing, or just sitting, but like escaping, but then having like, you can see more of the cave he's going into, and also the monster sort of coming at him. Because right now, if it's sort of... It sort of reads like a top-down game, like a League of Legends or something.
Isometric?
Whatever.
Is that isometric?
Is it?
Yeah. It's also called dimetric, depending on the angle, but I think isometric is the commonly used term for that kind of video game.
I thought that was just the type of rasterizing and...
Well, it's top-down, and it's not... It doesn't have perspective.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like the monster's sort of coming from like a diagonal, and then the person is more of a top-down... The perspective is wonky in this. And I don't think that helps with the conflict at all.
There just aren't a lot of, like, clues, like, for example, like, I know there is a lighting, and it is supposed to be a little bit more, simple lighting, because there is just, one white light source, but it's... because of the ground is just a black gradient and stuff, it's really hard to get perspective down on that.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it reminds me of, like, a really old, boring PS1 game where it was all gray all the time. To me,
it looks like he's sitting vertical on a wall, and then this monster's climbing over that wall.
Kinda, yeah.
Like, if this like, black area underneath his armpits and stuff was, like, the edge of the wall, it sort of looks like he's climbing down, and then this is some sort of, like, Spider Butt Man.
Yeah, like to me,
Spider-Man.
like if I was painting this, like I would have probably, from what it looks like to me, like it looks like the guy is just like having a good time with his ball, and just like this monster is just materializing. I'd probably make the monster a lot more subtle, and look for like rock formations. A lot of times you can see like monsters or faces or animals or something in it.
Yeah.
So you could literally just look at like rocks outside and say like, oh man, that kind of looks like a brow, and then kind of go from there. And it's just, I guess for me, it's like as someone who wanted to be a geologist, and like I love rocks, and like it's just that there's so many more rocks than just gray out there.
Yeah,
like so many more sheens, so many more lusters.
I don't think these rocks are convincing. Like
you can tell they're rocks. I guess they're supposed to be.
To me,
rocks.
they sort of look like machinery that's been covered in aluminum foil.
Yeah, or that. Like to me, it's like it's a representative of rocks, but it doesn't look like rocks.
Yeah,
like I can tell they're
that's
rocks.
what I'm saying. It's like I understand he's trying to go for rocks, but it doesn't actually, like, especially this exploding rock in the corner. I mean,
Starfish rock.
Yeah, I would love if rocks looked exploding and stuff like that.
Well, it's okay if a rock is exploding. You just have to do it convincingly. And also like
I think, but the majority of the thing is that like the color, we have gray. And then we have, like, this yellow light, but for some reason at, like, the base of the fire pit, it's white.
Yeah.
For some reason. That
wouldn't happen.
No, that definitely wouldn't happen.
It would be the darkest color of the fire, basically.
And then, like, on just, like, this arm coming forwards seems like that would be a lot more lit. If it's directly from the side, it has essentially, like, backlighting to it. And that's very confusing to me.
Yeah. Also, why does it have a back leg as its front leg? Like, I kind of want... I know it's a monster, and this might just be
like,
Okay, well, because to me it looks like just like a leg and a knee, like a frog leg. You're just sticking out. Which is fine, honestly. Monsters are monsters. No, to me I thought it was just like...
just straddling around.
I thought it was like the thing from, like, Monsters University, where it just has, like, two legs and...
It comes up a lot in our critiques for some reason.
But that's a nitpick. That's not really, but... Yeah, I definitely the color of the fire. What Andrea pointed out, the whiteness. Of the ground. Like if you look at a campfire, it's going to be like orange or like dull red.
Well, it's like the whiteness of the ground and also the whiteness on the rocks. Like the light being cast for some reason, like
it's very
maybe that's what it is.
It's like an LED light.
Yeah, it seems like the fire is made of LEDs and it's broadcasting like a bright white light on everything. But then there's also additional yellow highlights on it that. It has two light sources in the same light source. Yeah. And it's weirding me out. Because it would either be just one color or the other, and it would just sort of be like a sort of hazy,
Yeah, and like, honestly, like, for something like this, if I wanted to have, like, a yellow fire or an orange fire, I would have probably chosen, like, like a green sort of haze to the cave, like almost, like I think something like that, like giving it
something to offset against the guy.
Yeah, a blue.
If you have a bright red guy like this, something to play off of those colors is going to make him stand out a lot more, and also sort of include him more. Because that's also the other thing is he doesn't look like he belongs. None of these things really look like they belong in this picture. Yeah, and it's because it doesn't really have enough context to it to understand what's going on. Like we know there's a man being attacked by a monster. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, we're clueless what's going on. Yeah. And plus, like, if the rocks were that light, unless, I mean, literally the ground would have to be, like, carpet to absorb that much light. Yeah. And, the rocks would, if that's, like, a dirt or or even since this is a cave, most likely the floor would be slightly wet because it has stalactites. Stalactites, yeah, that's the one on the ceiling. So, so of course, like, because those drip water, and that's how they form, you would most likely have a wet sheen. So you'd be seeing the reflections of the rocks on the ground. In fact, it would be really cool if you could have the reflection of the monster or something on the ground or something like that. Yeah, that would be a great way to sort of portray that sort of dooming feeling.
Like, you don't have to make it super, obvious. Like, if you want, like, a portraying doom, like, even having, like, like ripples or just things to hint towards it that maybe the whole thing is just the mouth of the monster and you see things like like little bits of the tongue or like the teeth, maybe it has a little cavity in it, something like that. Like you can go so much further, and as right now it looks like they're in kind of like a staged like children's play, like there's like just like a black carpet. And then they have like the aluminum foil props.
Oh, here comes the monster!
Little gray sheet. Yeah,
that's stock noise.
Yeah, so basically, it's not really the, I would definitely say look at pictures of caves. There's a lot of colors, a lot of brown in it, honestly, and a lot of yellow.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a realistic cave, and you can also look at fantasy artwork that they work in caves, like a lot of swamps and black cards.
Lots of concept art and stuff tends to do a good representation of a cave in a very short amount of time, so that can sort of narrow you down on like what specific things you want to look for to accurately portray your cave. Yeah,
and when in doubt, like just you can literally have probably made this cave any color and it would have worked. Just there are ways to work it in any color. It's just
so let's talk about the anatomy of this guy. Like he reminds me of like those like 600-pound people where like their legs are sort of atrophied and tiny and they're just they sort of sit like sort of cross-legged like forwards. Like that's what that leg looks like to me.
There was on YouTube. There was a girl scooting around, I guess, on her
atrophied
legs. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
it's like
the atrophy. I know exactly.
Like the legs are tiny. Jeez. He doesn't look like he's sitting on the ground right now. He looks like he's sort of like hovering.
Yeah.
Well, no, like it looks like his ass is about like a foot off the ground. Like his feet look like they're on the ground, and I think that a lot of that is the type of shadow.
Yeah, and red does have shadows. It's like a dark red or a dark brown, and there just isn't any. Like the cloth behind him is just as light, and I guess it's difficult because if he has like shiny armor on, you need to make sure that it that it's reflecting light and things like that. Like it has a really like bright rim lighting. Like metal is really reflective,
like a chibi character.
Yeah, which might have been intended, but it's hard to do that.
Tell.
It's hard to do chibi characters if you don't already know human anatomy because it's well no I mean like if you don't know it down pat, it's easier to simplify something after you've already learned.
Yeah.
Otherwise he's just like kind of like doing a disco, but then his legs have atrophied away and he's just sliding backwards.
Like I think his foot is really throwing me off because he looks like he has like a pointed leg nub, and then he just has what looks like a
horseshoe around it.
No, to me it looks like part of a cheesecake underneath, like the bottom, like where his heel might be,
kind of like a Fire Emblem foot, where it's just
not even like no. It looks like he's resting his pointed nub on a pancake. Like
yeah, kind of
or
does,
like a pork chop
or something. Yeah.
Potato.
It's the same color and texture as a potato.
And I think that really is that you have the metal part going all the way down, and you don't have any sort of juncture showing that they're like a foot, or...
I think there might be, but it's like really, really light. Like, if you look, I think there is some, but...
zoomed in pretty far.
Well, zoom in more. See, yeah, it's there, it's just so light, and it's so not how it would work anyway, because...
Is that supposed to be like something he's kicking up? Like, what is the pancake?
I think that's just I think that's just a shoe. I think that's literally the leather part of his shoe. Like, the silver part's just the top part of his shoe. It just goes there.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see some armor stuff, but I don't see anything, like, bending back to show that there's a foot there. It just looks like leg. Just going on. Like a drill. Like, he has a drill for a leg.
Yeah.
Like...
And also, like...
His sort of crotch flap.
I mean, admittedly...
That's sort of going up in the air, which...
Admittedly, someone sitting down in full armor is pretty hard to draw. Yeah. And honestly, I don't think people can actually sit down in full armor, so there you go. You get
That's
that.
True.
Yeah, so...
Maybe you want to make him crouching or something. That'll give
him, like, lighter armor. Like, something that's, like, even if it's, like, a cuirass?
Or maybe you can have his pants bitten.
The ones that's,
cuirass.
Like... Cuirass? There we go. I don't know what it's called. If it's like, even if that's like
Cuirass,
like a game that actually has that a lot is Tactics Ogre has a lot of characters that have heavy armor up here, but then they have really light armor. So they have like just a metal part, and then they have like leather or cloth.
Yeah, that might be worth.
And they can probably sit down. So not that that's like it's just in this particular piece of artwork it's important because you have them sitting down, so it's just important to design for that. If he had a specific design already, like maybe he's kneeling, maybe he's sitting on a rock. Or something, or leaning against a rock if he,
I think, honestly, the sort of reboot of this whole thing is kind of... Like, I can't really think of a way to make this exact perspective work. without, you know, like the face of the monster being so far down that you don't really see a ton of stuff to it, or the top of the guy. Like, it doesn't seem...
The only way I could think it would work if you used, like, a reflection or something to see the monster. Like, that's the only time I think it would actually be, like
I would advocate for doing this.
Yeah.
Just take the same concept, but do it in a much more manageable and accomplishable way, I guess. Because even for, like, even as any professional, like, this would be pretty impossible to do. Yeah. Just like a straight on, straight down, most of the time. And sort of like a back and then like a fire. Like, it would never really read as a really cohesive...
You'd have to have a really good reference.
Yeah.
And you can do that. It is possible. People have done it. You know, and honestly though, like, for a first try at, like, digital, this isn't too bad.
I don't
it
know
seems
if this
like
is the first try.
Oh, is it? Well, he said it was the beginning course.
No, he said it was...
It was like introduction
It was just done for digital foundations.
Digital foundations. Well, I assume digital foundations is one of the, like...
It's an early digital course, but...
Okay.
Not like this is his first
okay. But honestly, though, it seems for digital foundations, like, you do have the foundations there, and I think a lot of the, like, what you might need to learn is, like, just regular... You know, like, just things that could be, you know, if you're doing watercolor or oil painting, you'd have to know it, too. Like, basically how to mix color, you know... How to compose something, and that's, like, honestly the hardest part, but doing a bunch of tiny sketches and figuring out, okay, well, obviously top down it's going to be really hard to render. Maybe I should choose something easier.
Right.
It's not always good to just pick the easiest way out, but in some cases it's okay. I mean, it's good. It's
better
explore.
To play to your strengths.
Yeah, like, or take a reference. Have your friend
work off of a good reference.
Yeah, have your friend pose in the same.
The
location.
other thing I want to bring up, because we are trying to keep this short.
Yeah. The brush strokes. Right?
Yes, the visual brush strokes. We're going to always highly advocate using Kyle T. Webster. He's got a Gumroad account. If you literally look up Kyle Webster brushes, that shit comes up immediately. It's essentially a really... he has really, really good brushes that replicate traditional medium very well. And this brush, which is that hair brush that's default on Photoshop. I know that hair brush very well because I used to try and do stuff with that in the past.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, it is. It's just a bunch of dots. It's in a circle.
I always modified it to have it where the minimum width was shorter, because that way it would look a little bit more realistic when you did pressure-wise. So, but yeah, no, that we can tell that's a default brush.
Yeah, I would never... I just, like, for making hair or something like this, I would definitely try to not make really obvious brush strokes, I guess.
Well, because don't try to draw individual strands.
Well, yeah, don't make it look like it's just the goddamn brush going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row on a head.
Yeah, well,
like,
that too.
Like, hair has variation and stuff, you know? You'll have a bit at the front that'll be more illuminated, and doing the same stroke all the way back completely flattens anything.
Yeah. I do like the design of the monster's head.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that design necessarily, like the design of the monster's face, I think is probably the most developed thing.
It reminds me of something of Halo.
Oh, I've never...
I would doubt it might be something from Halo.
Okay, I've never played... I played it once, and I got blown up by a grenade, and I was like, wow, this is terrible.
Yep, so I had a similar thing. Is I played it once with friends, and then I just got shot numerous times. I'm like, I don't know why anybody likes this game, and I never played again.
Yeah, but like, I like... One thing I like about like the teeth and stuff, even though the bottom jaw isn't necessarily like the teeth aren't completely straight in a row and stuff, I do kind of like it when people paint and there's just slight imperfections in it, like the white of one tooth isn't quite the same as the white of another or something. Yeah. Like, it's not all just perfect. I really do like things like that, and I would encourage you not to try and force you to be like, it must be this gradient of white and this stuff. Like, you know, it has to be organic. Like, you have to... Organicness, especially in digital pictures, is key. Good. Yeah. To me, like, the top row of teeth, to me, looks fairly organic. Like, it's not like, you know, they vary in color, and I kind of like, I mean, for me personally.
The only thing with the bottom jaw, for me, besides that a jaw tends to be fairly flat, you know, like the front of a face.
It is going back inwards.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying, like, the light source right now on his chin just makes it look like he's already past the fire. Which, through the shadows and everything else, it does not look like he's anywhere close to it. But no, he has, like, a very square jaw, and then his teeth go in a big circle on the inside of his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the design of the monster, you just have to make it make sense. But most creatures don't have a jaw that I mean, there is a cookie cutter shark. I mean, you could go that route and just...
Didn't want the big fucking like,
the
scissor blade. Otherwise, I would really advocate using like a big soft brush to sort of round out tones. Because right now it's very like the brow. It's very like just right on the edge, but then there's no real definition beyond it.
Also, like there's just I mean, in terms of like the edges. Like, the lower left rock it has a lot of very, like, sharp shadows, like, almost like cell shading, but then, like, the top left stalactite, like, it's very soft and, like, it doesn't have any defined edges, like, it's just kind of like a pudding or like a lump of dried wet paper, you know, and it's just, to me, it has the consistency of, like, wet paper that has been dried, like, paper mache, there we go. Like, just a very matte.
Yeah, I would definitely look into various rocks and textures and colors and stuff. That's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
Other than that, how about general color scheme? Like, just this gray with, like, a pop of yellow is never really going to work out terribly well.
No, gray
you have to have
like,
something to,
like,
contrast it.
You can have gray. Like,
yeah, you can
definitely.
Have gray.
And it's
like,
just, that's the challenge. I would recommend, like, the book Light and Color by James Gurney. Because that's a really good book. Like, he knows his stuff. He is, like... That is probably my best...
That dinosaur man got it going on.
He's really weirdly into, like, the... He's a geologist. And he's, like, really weirdly into the technical side of art. So he's not, like... He's self-taught. And he you know, he's taking classes and stuff. But I would recommend that. It's, like, $20 on Amazon. That should give you a good idea. He uses a lot of gray in his artwork, but he uses it in a way that's, like, super freaking awesome. And,
you want to use gray as more of like a... you want to use gray... Stop digging on... There you go.
Like, you can use gray as like a neutral tone to like, you know, even like a gray
it's
next
a good way
to
to do
red.
it dark without it going black. But it's a good way to contrast, or not contrast, to with... be compatible with other colors without it being like another bright, craziest color. Like we're not against gray at all.
No, I love gray, but it's just in this particular instance, it
there's not really a color scheme to bring things together. It looks like part of a black and white painting, and then with just some color touches on it, and it doesn't look like it's cohesive at all. Yeah,
and even if you had chosen something like a cool gray that had some like blue in it or something, even that would have been more. You know, especially a cool gray, because it would contrast a little bit more with the, you know, the yellow.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know. And also, don't be afraid to use layer modes. Like, if you're really not sure, like literally, like, I'm guessing you're using Photoshop because of the brushes up top. So, literally just use, like, a layer mask and, you know, gradient mask. You know, play around with the colors. Like, play around with the layer modes. If you really don't know, like, that's one of the most fun things. Like, I personally do that when I just don't freaking know. You take the hue slider and just go crazy with it and see what happens. You know, reverse it. Yeah, there's lots of interesting things you can do without a ton of effort put in, just to sort of get you on a better track. Yeah, with this. Put a you know, yellow overlay, a blue, you know. But I think as it stands, like the design, like I said, the design of the monster is interesting. I would definitely like, if that's the focus more or less, I'd definitely like to see more actual anatomy with it. So like eyelids, and you know, you can have like skin sort of going off different ways on its toenails. It doesn't have any toenails. It does sort of have like Ninja Turtle hands. Yeah, well, to me that's my pet peeve. I like seeing nails on things. You know, especially on anime, like when they just have fingers but they don't have any nails, I'm like, oh my god, they're just dolls. Exactly. So, but I think it's pretty well covered. Yeah, I mean, look at pictures of caves. I mean, like, it sounds silly and simple, but look at pictures of rocks. Essentially, look at pictures of all the things that you have in here. Yeah. And then play around with what you've got to maybe come up with a more interesting, cohesive color palette. Mm-hmm. Stuff that plays off of each other, some cool blues, some of that sort of blue-grays. And if you're really having trouble with colors, reds, you can put some reds in there. When I'm having trouble with colors, like a rock, and I'm like, wow, I really just don't know what color that is. I mean, it's okay to take it into Photoshop and, you know, eyedrop it and see where it falls in the color slider. I wouldn't recommend doing that, you know, color picking to actually put colors into your piece, but color picking to, like, find out, like, what color something is. Like, oh, okay, that's a cool gray. Oh, I see, that's how cool gray interacts with orange. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, and so you have that idea and you learn, instead of just color dropping the thing, popping it in your painting, and not learning anything at all.
Right.
So, it's okay to, I wouldn't even consider that cheating. I mean, that's literally, use the tools you have, which is digital, there's nothing wrong with that. Use any tool at your disposal, and you'll be fine. So, yeah, I do like the monster head, though. I think that has a... I think you could push it further and make it look really good.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Okay.
There you go.
Thumbs up. Good for this one.
Thumbs down.
Oh, no.
No,
but yeah, if you guys ever want to send your stuff to us, we're fridgeartpodcast@gmail.com. Just send it under... Literally, the only submissions we're getting tend to be just, I want my critique for this piece, sort of thing. So you don't have to, title it.
I mean, if people really like that and they want that, that's...
No, that's cool. I mean, we don't mind being harsh about...
Yeah.
If your classmates are being a wuss...
I think we're being about how we would be if we were in a classroom full of people.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we're being normal. We're not being
I'm giving advice to somebody they're going to listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm not maybe you should look into this a little bit more. No, I'm just saying, hey, listen, this part doesn't work here. This doesn't work here.
Wow, I like the rendering on the rock. And you don't say it in specifically what it is.
Yeah, we both had to go through those before, and it's very annoying.
Yeah, so, well, there you go. So,
all right, well, I've been Andrew Radick.
I'm still Kristen Plesko.
Okay, good. And we'll see you guys later.
Yep, see you later.